Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot, and I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to the district of West Lindsey, where today we're looking at an important settlement if you were alive in Roman times. This is Marton. Marton is another beautiful little village, and one that's very historic, in the district of West Lindsey, Lincolnshire. The population of this one, which includes Burton, was 747 at the 2011 census. It lies on the A156, 5 miles south from Gainsborough and 11 miles northwest of Lincoln. A lot of information about the village can be found in this telephone box, much like in Torksey. However, it appeared that this was locked. As well as Burton, Marton shares borders with Brampton, Sturton by Stow, and Willingham in West Lindsey, and it also touches North Leventon with Habblesthorpe, Cottam and Sturton-le-Steeple in Bassetlaw, because it shares a river border with them, and that river is the River Trent. The Trent is a very important feature here, and we'll see why in a short while. In Roman times, Marton was a way station slightly north of the larger fort of Torksey. Torksey, as we learned there, is at the point just before a Roman road crossed the River Trent. That Roman road was here. Right, okay, I have found an information board, a cracking information board right here outside the church, and thankfully the map that I saw in the phone box a few minutes ago is right here. This is the same map, it's exactly the same, or at least I think it is. So right, we are here on Trentport Road, and my route is going to take me past this windmill. Now there's a 2.5 mile walk here along the bank of the Trent. I'm not going to do that, but I am going to take a couple of shots of the river just there. That's important because on the other side there's something we've seen before, which I can link to. I am going to be taking this road, this footpath instead, up towards Littleborough Lane, and then coming down here. Now I believe there's a footpath somewhere off Tillbridge Lane which brings you back down here. It's not marked on this map, but I will walk up here. It's a hill, quite a steep hill actually, that I'm not going as far as the level crossing there, but somewhere about there is where I'll go to, and I believe there is a footpath that links me back down here to where I began. I hope so anyway. This information board has quite a lot of stuff on it which I haven't found before I came here, which is good. So I'll take some pictures of this, and hopefully most of what's on here I'll use in the voiceover. The modern A156 road crosses that ancient Roman road. The east of it is the modern day A1500 or Stow Park Road, which becomes Tillbridge Lane further towards Lincoln. It's a dead straight road which is 9 miles in length from Marton to the other end, a roundabout just to the south of RAF Scampton. The place name Marton comes from the Old English mere-tun, meaning pool farm, arguably derived from its position on the Trent floodplain. History-wise, Marton has plenty of little signs around the place to tell us about things. A lot of the information in this video comes from them. The large sign we saw a few moments ago tells us a lot about the Roman history of the place. The Romans were here well before the Saxons. The settlement of Marton has 2 recorded phases of extreme decline, both in size and population. Generally though, it's remained larger than the average settlement in the area. It was recorded as being wasteland of low value in the Domesday Book. In the early 15th century, it had fewer than 10 households. Medieval Marton owes much to its relationship to the River Trent, rather than the old Roman road of Tillbridge Lane. The early waterside focus was not so much on the bank of the Trent, but rather on a former wide, shallow inlet on the east bank of the Trent that lay to the south of Marton, between it and Torksey. This would have been a stretch of water several hundred metres wide with a broad, gently sloping beach on its north side beside Marton village, ideal for stranding boats, and thus will have allowed the land adjacent to the beach to develop as a market during the later Anglo-Saxon period. The Trent is still tidal here, with OS maps showing the tidal limit to be at Trent Port. It experiences a tidal bore known as an Aga, named after the Norse god of the sea, but this is better seen in Gainsborough as it's usually lost most of its force by the time it reaches Marton. Fast forward a few centuries. Although Marton's High Street is predominantly residential now, in much more recent times locals can remember there being a butcher's, a grocer's, a garage which sold petrol, a cafe, a post office, and many other things which have now disappeared. Marton covers a wide area of some 9.6 square kilometres. It has a population density that's pretty average for a village of its size, coming in at 79.86. Most of the people who call this one home identify as white British citizens. That figure is 99.3%. The average house in the village will set you back somewhere in the region of £248,000. In the centre of the village stands the Church of St Margaret of Antioch. The building is essentially of the Norman conquest period, built using a mixture of Anglo-Saxon and Norman styles. Much of the work of these periods is still retained. It has an 11th century tower of herringbone masonry, a Saxon cross shaft set in an outer wall, and an ancient carved crucifix within. Marton's long history is obvious through the visible evidence here of the church. The building itself was once described by Henry Thorold, one of Lincolnshire's leading writers and architectural experts, as a thrilling church. Inside there's Norman masonry too, and some early English work. The cemetery is a little walk away down Trent Port Road, separate from the main churchyard. Outside there's a bench in memory of Bob Dickinson, who apparently had a pretty good innings, living to the age of 78. Marton's Methodist Church is regarded as the oldest in Lincolnshire. In 2014 it celebrated its 200th anniversary. Before this existed, people held prayer meetings in private homes. Since 1923, Marton and Gate Burton Village Hall has been a place where the community can get together. It became a registered charity in 1994. The management committee is responsible for the hall, play park and large playing field, which is located behind this. The bowls green on its premises is managed separately by Marton and Gate Burton Bowls Club. Marton also has a caravan club too, and while I was here, it seems some keen caravanners were taking to the playing field. Marton also has a small garage called North End Garage on the road towards Gate Burton. It's almost dead opposite the Methodist Church. The Black Swan is a fascinating building. It's an old coaching inn, and local legend says the famous highwayman Dick Turpin once lodged here. It used to make its own ale. These days, the Black Swan is a guest house with a total of 9 ensuite rooms, including 3 ground floor units. It's pet friendly, and the owners have 2 cats and a dog themselves. Whilst the Black Swan may no longer be an inn, the Ingleby Arms is the village local. Since 1830 this has been so, but originally it was a chip shop. Marton's Surgery next, a small village surgery sited close to the Black Swan guest house. The village has a primary school located in the uphill area of the village. That would be the Marton Academy. And Marton does have a shop, but it's only open in the mornings according to one local I met here. It stands on the site of the old school, which originally catered for 63 children. The tall cross in the churchyard is used as a war memorial, and it's thought to be the former buttercross from the medieval market mentioned earlier. Next to the church is the Millennium Anchor. This was dredged from the Trent. The Trent, the Severn and the Thames were the main river systems in 1760. Gainsborough was an important port on the Trent at that time, but early industry on the river would have likely used Torksey as its main port along these waters. When the port there became no longer usable, it was Marton's turn to shine. In actual fact, Marton's port was built first. It was built to export and trade local agricultural goods. It was easier to carry goods via the river due to poor road surfaces. There's also a restored windmill tower here. This used to have 4 sails and it was taken apart in 1927 as it was no longer needed. A corn warehouse used to stand beside the mill and it had 2 pairs of stones. So I'm familiar with Marton, seeing as I lived in Saxelby, not too far away. I never knew Marton had a windmill. And I'm actually really pleased that I can get really close to it because I'm still on the footpath here, which I'll be taking towards Littleborough Lane in a second. That's amazing. Okay, so I'm on the footpath now between Trent Park Road and Littleborough Lane. It's very, very muddy and slippery underfoot, so if you do attempt this, I suggest wearing wellies. I've just got my trainers on and I'm sliding all over the place. But thankfully, it's not a long walk, so if you do attempt it, yeah, just make sure you've got the right footwear on. Where we are now is the site of the Roman settlement, which is seen now as extensive earthworks. This is sited along Littleborough Lane, which led via a stone-paved ford to Littleborough across the river into Nottinghamshire, formerly the Roman settlement of Segelocum. Earthworks were recognised here as early as 1776 by William Stukeley. Right, so we've made it to Littleborough Lane, even though you wouldn't know this is Littleborough Lane right here because it doesn't look like much of a road. But trust me, this used to be a Roman road, and it's the same road that we saw in Sturtonley Steeple in Littleborough. It's just the other side of the river. So remember, there was a ferry there which would have carted goods across the river, and the Romans obviously then would have used this to get towards Lincoln, going right through the centre of Marton. And we're going to traverse this Roman road. We're going to walk all the way down Littleborough Lane back into the village. This then is Littleborough Lane, which would have at one time been connected to Segelocum. The ford is long gone, but there was also a ferry that ran here until around the late 1920s. And unrelated to the Romans, Wapping Lane is interesting too. Originally Warping Lane, wicker baskets were made here, taking its name from warp and weft reeds. It's the site of the old forge. Alright, it's time for a picture bit, and here it comes right now for the parish of Marton. That's pretty much it for the parish of Marton. Now, of course, one thing I haven't included in this episode is Stow Park level crossing, which was featured at the end of the Stow episode. If you've not seen it, pointless going there again, even though I've actually got to drive over it myself now. It does fall within the parish of Marton, not within Stow, but as if you've seen the Stow episode, you'll know why I included it there. Okay, time for me to move on to my next one here in West Lindsey. This has been the parish of Marton, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.